Abari. Ladies and gentlemen, I greet you with a clean heart. Where I come from, you can tell the level of greeting. Somebody can greet you, but not with a clean heart. So we usually say, I greet you with a clean heart, and I do. Professor and speaker, we cherish you, and we are very grateful. All I can do is a few sound bites for these few minutes. Somebody started by saying that each generation has a generational mission to either betray it or fulfill it. I think this generation, speaker and professor, we have our generational mission, and the choice is either to betray it or fulfill it. I want to talk about the great power competition, what is going on in Africa, but more in terms of sound bites, generally to give you the layaway of what is going on. That one, we have accepted that we are in multipolar world, where there is more competitions and new entry, unlike the traditional. Realism tell us that the strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must. And there is several theories on state relationship, but I think this is more realistic. The strong do what they want and the weak do what they must. They suffer what they must. In other words, that we live in a world which, if you know sport like soccer, we call soccer a finite game because it has rules. But we are in the world, operate in a world where it's almost like there are no rules. And so it's very confusing. You are playing, but there are no rules. Or if the rules are there is exceptionalism. Some people get away with violating them. Some people are sanctioned for violating them. So it is a confusing world. I've picked a few examples, and I want to give you this example. I will talk about the new entry, because we know the traditional one. I'll talk about Turkey right now in Africa, Egypt, Israel. I'll talk about Gulf Cooperation Council, which is involving Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Oman, and how much they have given, up to $137.3 billion investment to countries like Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia, Djibouti, investing in agriculture, manufacturing, construction. This is a very new entry. Turkey, close ties with the, of course, federal government of Somalia, including, I believe, military base. Egypt, more assertive. We know that they are trying to work towards influencing God, working with Ethiopia, Israel, and then the traditional power like Russia, like US, and all that. I've listened to many conversations. Let me start, for example, on climate change. And it appears that Africans are told, you go plant trees, as the Western countries, we are going to pollute, and you plant trees for carbon credit. And that appears to be the deal. I've talked to some environmentalists, and I'm saying, what is the understanding? Where are the land in Africa for us to plant the trees as the West pollute, so that the carbon can absorb. That is just an example of how skewed this trade is. In Kenya today, if you go to Laikipia, you will find a lot of British citizens owning huge land. They will tell you, we have come to protect poaching and wild animals. And I tell them, we have other problems in Kenya like carjacking, like political violence. Why poaching and wild animals? Because it's the easiest way to get a huge land. You put one wild animal there, you get a license to carry gun, and you can shoot the Maasai and Samburu who come in your land. You own the stream, and then you take that land and you register it as a World Heritage Site. And so there is a part that you find a plane can come direct from Britain, land there in the ranches, and if you ask them, what are you doing in Africa? We are protecting wild animals. But to protect wild animal, I have 200 acres with 2 buffalo in it. I now have a gun because I'm protecting nature. It shows you how skewed the environment is. I still believe that how we used to trade, remember before colonization, was barter trade. You remember barter trade? It is very hard to carry injustice with barter trade. I come with my goat, you come with your maize, we can all see this can go with this. The Western world became very smart that we cannot succeed with barter trade. So today they tell you, you go buy a sack of maize. A sack of maize right now is 4,000 Kenya shillings. Come and buy a flash disk for 4,000. If it was barter trade, you will say, surely the energy it takes to produce a sack of maize, as a whole sack of maize, 50 kilogram, 190 kilogram, to change it for a flash disk of a laptop. You will be told, you go sell your cows. Come buy an iPhone, which is about what? 200,000. If you found me with about 10 bulls, that I'm going to the market to sell these 10 bulls so that I buy a phone, you'll say there's something wrong with my mind. But because it's not barter trade, you are told, you go to the cow market, sell your bulls. You come to the shop, ask how much is this phone? You are told 250,000. That is about 10 bulls. Pay, take your phone and go. So the money thing, the injustice is not very clear because you don't equate very much. And then you are told it is market forces. Market, like it's witchcraft, forces. There is some forces somewhere. Yet, somebody is telling me, this tea of mine is not as valuable as technology. That one I'm being told by the person who is producing technology. It's telling me, you are doing things without value addition. Technology is expensive. You look at why should technology be? Of course, because the person who is not producing this raw material is the one producing technology and is the one who determines how much is your sugar, how much is your tea, and they are giving you the narrative that technology is very expensive. So we live in a world where there is a lot of injustice, to be honest. We have a saying in Swahili that adui muombe njaa, that you don't need many prayers for your enemy. Just pray that they starve. And when they starve, you can do whatever you want with them. And when you look at most of our states and most of our country, that is part of it. That when your enemy is starving, then you can bargain with them whichever way you want. I want to give you a few examples. I want to give you, for example, I've been looking at a Mansude Art Studio. Mansude Art Studio is a studio of North Korea that makes statues. The Mansude Art Studio makes statue, and I'll show you 7 countries they have made their statue in Africa. Each statue is about $60 million. And so most of the countries give them huge land. These statues are made, and you'll find that it is made in terms of North Korea propaganda. The people look more like Kim Jong, yet it's supposed to be celebrating the African heroes. And then you get to understand that who is speaking for the Africa consciousness? And where are our sculptors? Where are our designers? So one of the Mansude Art Studio, they first built the African Renaissance Monument in Senegal, which is 49 meters at $60 million. Then they built the statue of Sam Nujoma in Windhoek. That Mansude Art Studio from where? North Korea. Then they built bronze statue of unknown soldiers, built at 60 million. They built in 2011 the statue of Samora Machel in Maputo, Mozambique. They put statue of Samora Machel, but put the King Jong coat, and they had to redo it at 60 billion. Then the statue of Laurent Kabila in Kinshasa, in Democratic Republic, where Laurent Kabila, big statue, they have put the signature Kim Jong coat on Laurent Kabila, so the face look African, but the jacket, the art is not African. They went to Namibia, and in Namibia they constructed the State House at $27 million. They went to Behanzin, where they put the 11th King Dahomey of Benin. They went to Botswana, built a statue of the 3 chiefs who were very important in Botswana in the struggle for independence. The Gosi Monument and the 3 chiefs. They went and built a statue in Luanda, Angola, of Agostinho Neto in the Agostinho Neto Cultural Center. And I can go on and on and on. That is just in art. And you wonder, these are supposed to be the African heroes. And their statue built at billions dollars by Korean artists. Now, when you look at the market-centered development, because that is what the world is working on, then you get to understand that in most of the African countries, we are quickly willing to give up our national land, our ports, bring foreign military, work for bilateral instead of multilateral. Of course, we are looking at a region where we have our internal rivalry. We have issues of boundary. I like what the presenter brought about the hope of Africa, where Africa is the only place where 60% of arable land are still not touched. The generation where young people are there, growing middle class than any other place. And so look like the world is seeing something we are not seeing. The friend from Minnesota said, when everyone is running to Africa, Africans are running from Africa. That is an irony, because they are seeing that the future is in Africa, in terms of wealth, in terms of work, in terms of land, in terms of the middle class growing, in terms of the resources. But in this chaotic world, what it takes is leadership to look at all the obstacles, look at all the rivalry, plan a path so that strategically ahead, so that countries can move ahead. And without that strategic leadership and strategic vision, why do I support this initiative? Most of our thinking on foreign policy are funded and done by foreign countries. If you know the various model of making foreign policy decisions, whether it's rational actor, whether it's bureaucratic or whatever, for most of the African countries, very few take their resources and say, we want to sit, study the world, study what is going on, sit and strategize what is our advantages, what is our disadvantages, and we want to see how we can leverage around our weakness, manage around the strength, and work for the future. Most of the time, if we do something like this, it is because it is initiated by a donor who obviously have an interest, and sometimes the interests don't align. I'll give you an example. About 2 years now, myself and even I saw Hassan Kanenje, we have been working with IGAD. IGAD has a task force on Red Sea, because that is 70% of the world sea trade passes through Red Sea. Red Sea have challenges. Everyone is coming, the tragedy of common dumping there, illegal fishing, what Somalia is facing. We have piracy, very small portion, but big portion is that the big powers are, you know what Bush said, we'll rather fight them there than here. And so in the Red Sea, they have serious surveillance of intelligence. That is where they will rather fight from than fight their enemies from the border in the US. That is where 70% of sea trade and more than about 40% of international trade is passing. You go to the Arab side of Red Sea, it is very strategic. You come to the African side, both lateral and non-lateral state, each port is owned by a foreigner. Each country is more working with the foreign powers and foreign states. So the task force was supposed to bring African states together, both lateral and non-lateral. You know that the internet cable is passing through Red Sea, to discuss a common approach as Africans. Why should Kenya go and negotiate individually with EU, while it can work together with other neighbors and go as a team and will get a better bargain? You know very well that it's not in the interest of the big powers for Africans to bargain together. And so they will come for bilateral rather than multilateral and tell you, Somali, if you are still joking, I have a better deal in Rwanda. You better sign this thing or I'm going there. Is pitting and playing this country over this country over this country, and at the end of the day, all these countries are losing. So the Red Sea Task Force was to come with a common approach we are looking at the big powers like even the US. Do you know the bigger percentage of US foreign aids go to two countries, Israel and Egypt? And the rest of the countries, foreign aid in the US, I think it's only 1% of their budget. So it's not that they are very generous as we are meant to think. It's about 1 or 2% of their budget. And out of that 1 and 2%, 70% is going to two countries, Israel and then the rest of the countries share that small percentage. But when you look at our side of Red Sea, it's chaotic. When you look at those other sides, it's very strategic. They know he's coming in. Then we are told, this is a common good. It belongs to everyone. The people who live close to Red Sea are not seeing the benefit. Then the non-lateral states have to get into very serious negotiation. And then you realize that we have not commonalized our interest. And because we have not commonalized our interest, you find this one is talking to UAE, this one is talking to Saudi Arabia, this one is talking to Russia, this one is talking to US, this one is talking to Nini, and we are involved in proxy wars. What our sister passionately was saying, that even if sometimes you look at our members of parliament, their allegiance is not the people and the country. The string is being controlled somewhere else. So in conclusion, we are in a multipolar world where there are almost no rules. We talk of US exceptionalism. For us to be strategic, we must harness our strength. We must study the situation, know whom to align with. The biggest power, as I conclude, the biggest power of US and the West is not even the guns. It's the power to define. They're the ones who define that Farah Malim is a fine gentleman. Then we all say, yes, he's good because US have said he is. They're the ones who define who is a dictator. They are the ones who define who is pro-democracy. They are the ones who define which countries are uprising. They are the ones who define which country are retrogressive. And that power to define, we all coalesce around it. That is why, what did China do when the US was giving human rights report? They also started doing a human rights report about US. And US was not happy. They say, no, we are the one who do human rights report about every country. China say, no, we also have a human rights report about you. You did not treat your people well in Katrina. You ignored them because they are black. There is a lot of killing. You killed Floyd. There is a lot of racial tension. In other words, as we conclude, this generation has a mission. And our mission, if you ask me, is to leverage on our strength, decrease this heightened geopolitical competition. We are seeing high militarization of the place, and to look at governance in terms of how do we leverage on our strength to deal with this great power competition. How do we feed our people? Farah Malim and myself are students of human rights. Human rights is about capability. We had somebody who wrote a theory called the empty belly theory, that people cannot talk of human rights if they cannot eat. And you must provide the capability for them to produce and eat. And that is why I started by saying, in Swahili we say, adui muombe njaa. That if you are weak, if you are not eating, then it is very easy to be manipulated. God bless you.